Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday night broadcast. Tonight's going to be a little different in the sense that we want it to be interactive. We want you guys to participate. We want you to ask questions, and we will answer them to the best of our ability. We realize that there are some unknowns, but there's a lot that we do know, and so we will do our best to try to answer those questions. As many of you know, we are intending to start our services again on Sunday. And if I lean aside here, let me figure this. You can see the sanctuary, and you can see how we kind of have it set up. We have 5 in a row, and then we have a skipped row, and then 5 more, and a skipped row, and 5 more. There's 4 of those throughout the sanctuary. So we're doing our best to do the social distancing and doing everything we possibly can to be able to get out and be able to be in fellowship again. And one thing Pastor Dan and I were talking about right before this, and that's that the question is always, when? Is it still too soon? Is it time? And I think the answer to that varies with the person and their situation and how they feel about getting back together, whether they're secure in that or whether they are not. But the one thing I would say is that sooner or later, we're going to need to get back in church. We're going to need to get back in fellowship. So I think, I could be wrong, but from everything I read and everything I can see, I think we may be faced with making the same decision, whether we do it now, whether we do it in another week, whether we do it in another 2 weeks or another 3 weeks. So, Pastor Dan, do you have anything you want to add to that as we get going?
Yeah, we, obviously are really excited to get back to in-person services, but I think our heart behind the way we're going to be doing things is we realize some people may not be in a position where they feel comfortable with an in-person service. So we are going to do our best to continue to support our online broadcast as well. So wherever you're at, and whether you want to come and join us in person or you want to watch online, we're going to do our best to minister to you wherever your mindset is at the moment.
Right. I even purchased an FM transmitter because early on we were thinking it would be really cool to be able to broadcast the service on an FM channel to the parking lot and have church that way. But we got hit with the hot weather very quickly, it seems like. And the more we thought about it, the more it just seemed like no one is going to want to sit in a hot car for 45 minutes or an hour. And, you'd more than likely, in order to get any relief from gas, you'd have to turn it off once in a while, turn it back on. It's just too hot for that. I think it's a great idea, and I know that pastors have done that elsewhere, but it's usually in places where the weather is much more, it's much nicer than it is in Phoenix right now. So like Pastor Dan said, we're going to do our best. We're going to keep this broadcast going so that the folks who have been watching it and want to continue to watch, so that they'll have the ability to keep up with everything that's going on at Central, but in the comfort of their own home, as well as those who decide to attend the service.
And I think it's important to remember, as a church family, one decision is not more spiritual than another.
Amen.
As Pastor John said, people are in different circumstances, different situations, and you have our full support with whichever decision you choose.
Amen. We love you both ways.
So we're going to get to some guidelines, because church is obviously going to look a little bit different. But before we do that, Pastor John and I just wanted to say thank you for just your support during a very unique period of time, something that none of us had planned for, none of us expected. But as we've said many times, this didn't come as a surprise to the Lord. So Proverbs 16:9 reads, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." And we've kind of seen really the way the Lord has cared for his church and really cared for specifically Calvary Central by the way he has guided us in the midst of all of this. And one way we've seen this is the way that he prepared us with this StreamYard software. Pastor John was kind of looking for a way to encourage the body midweek. We had tried a 24-hour streaming radio program, and it just didn't seem to be the fit that we were looking for. And Pastor John came across this software, and it's worked out really well. We were doing it a couple months leading up to this pandemic, and it was a perfect transition to go from our Thursday live streams, our weekly encouragements, into really our primary platform for Sunday and Wednesdays. So no one could have planned that, only God could have. And so we're again, first and foremost, so grateful for the Lord's direction in the midst of all of this.
Amen. Amen. As Pastor Dan said, we can plan, but it's up to God to guide those steps. And we certainly have felt him guide us in this, because like you said, we would have been caught like a lot of churches were, and miss a couple of Sundays at least while we got prepared on a platform software, something that we could use to be able to minister to you folks. We want to reassure you that the health and safety of the church is a high priority for us. We don't feel like we have to get back in church. We don't feel like we have to stay home. We just feel like it's time to provide another option for the church to meet together. And we do have a mandate in church to not forsake the assembling together. So I don't think we should put off assembling together for very long. But we also understand, like we said at the beginning, there are different circumstances for different folks dealing with different issues. So it's our desire to keep people as safe as we possibly can, and to try to provide as many options as we possibly can, so that folks still get to be a part of the church family, whether that be at home, or whether that be in person at the church. But we are very much concerned with the flock and even our own health and the health of our families. We're very much concerned about that. So whether it's now, whether it's 2 months from now, I think we would still be faced with some of the same decisions, because I do believe that there are those who estimate this might go on who knows how long. And do we stop meeting for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? Or do we take a step and say, you know what, I think it's time. I think the Lord is telling us that it's time to step out. But we do love you. We are concerned about you. And we're taking all the precautions that we possibly can to make sure that we have the distancing, the things wiped down, cleaned, all of the stuff that's necessary for us to do that.
Yeah, and we want to again say thank you for praying. I've heard from so many people who have mentioned that they've been praying for the leadership, because they know that these decisions aren't easy to make, and ultimately that's what we want beyond anything is the Lord's will, and just based on the governor's mandate, and now that that's being lifted. This seems to be, like Pastor John said, the right time. But again, we want to thank everyone who has continued to participate in the services on Sunday and Wednesdays. They've logged into the live streams, even though we know some of you guys, it's 9:30 a.m. You're logging in at 10 a.m. No excuses for being late when church is broadcast online. All you had to do was roll out of bed and turn it on, but it's okay.
Roll out of bed. You can turn it on.
Turn on the TV and you're in bed, but we're just glad that you attended. And we want to thank the ministry leaders. A lot of you have thought of really unique ways to continue to minister to the church family and your teams through Zoom, through just really, really creative ways to stay connected. And to all the guests who came on our Wednesday night live stream, the interviews, the fellowship nights, those were really a lot of fun, and it was good getting to know people a lot better. And also we have to say thank you to all of you who have continued to give towards the Central family. Even in this time of uncertainty, you guys have been so faithful in that area as well. So before we got into the reopening guidelines and some of the changes, we just wanted to say thank you to the whole church family for the way that you've handled such a difficult thing.
Yeah, amen. And like Pastor Dan, people have reached out in a lot of different ways just to call and say hi. And in some cases, they've done drive-bys where they stop at someone's house just to say hi. And, that's a real family. That's what a real family does. And so we are very, very, very appreciative of those of you that call Central your home, and you've made an effort to keep in touch with everyone. Cindy Merva asks, do you suggest getting to church closer to the service time or arriving early? I think at this point, Cindy, I would recommend getting there about a half hour before the service, maybe 20 minutes before the service. One of the things we want to do is we want to we can't keep the front door open like we would like to. I'm fine. Pastor Dan and I talk for 30 minutes before we get started, and I don't have to cough. But just as soon as we start the broadcast, then the cough comes. So what we would like to do is we're going to wipe everything down. We're going to make sure that the touch surfaces, the people touch the most, they're wiped down before, during, and after the service. And the front door is one of those biggies of people handling the door. So we probably, because it is so hot, we probably will limit the time that door is open. So we probably will open it, have it standing open about 20 minutes before. So if you want to come in about 20 minutes before, the door will be open for you. You won't have to touch it. And with some people, they may be wearing gloves and it's not an issue for them. But that would be my suggestion. Pastor Dan, you want to add anything to that, or does that sound like a deal?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. And and again, I think some of the things that we go over might answer some of those questions too. But again, it's kind of making the decision that you feel comfortable with also. But we'll be there.
Oscar, good to see you, brother. Good. I'm glad you're going to be there. I'm glad. Again, I don't want anybody to think one's better than the other, but it'll be good to see your face, man. I miss you guys. And yeah, it's going to be tough. With the parents who do bring the kids, we don't want to stop anybody from being able to come to church. But let's face it, some of our kids have a hard time during that time of being still and being preoccupied. It's just not, it's not in their DNA. So we certainly get that, and we certainly understand that. So we've tried to make it to where if parents want to bring their children, they're welcome to do so. But we understand it if they don't. Pastor Dan?
Okay. Well, let's go over some of the ways that church is going to look a little bit different, and some of the ways that we're really doing our best to make sure everyone stays safe and healthy. Again, as we stated earlier, Governor Doug Ducey has eased the stay-at-home restrictions. I don't know if everyone realizes this, but churches have always in Arizona been considered an essential service during this time. So churches were allowed to remain open. We just felt that during this time, it was better to take a step back and wait to see how things played out. And that's why we've been making the decision to do the online service. But as of, I believe it was our Friday, as of the 15th, that stay-at-home order is going to be lifted. And as we've seen from Governor Doug Ducey, he plans on lifting that based on the numbers that he's seeing. Again, we understand that, again, although that stay-at-home order is being lifted, not everyone's ready to return to in-person services. So we are going to continue, as we said, to live stream to Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not. But again, we want to continue to minister to the entire family, regardless of where you're watching from.
Amen.
For those who are ready to return, we'll just go over a few things that we're going to be doing. And if you have questions about it, please ask in the comments.
Let me answer Ray's question about communion this Sunday. No, we will not be doing it this Sunday, but we're going to be going back into our normal cycle of the first Sunday of the month, Ray. This will also give us time to order some special communion supplies that have everything contained in one unit, where everything is sanitary, and it'll give us time. So we're going to fall back into our normal cycle of the first Sunday of the month. Pastor Dan, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. That's what it's all about. There's not going to be any nursery. There won't be any children's ministry, and there won't be any youth ministry at this time. So again, we're going to really take small steps as we kind of ramp things up and see how things go. So it's going to be a slower process, but bear with us. So children are going to be welcome in the service. And I just want to encourage you, if you have smaller children that you'll be bringing, bring activities for them. Give them something to do during the service. We're going to shorten the service to be sensitive to those with smaller children. But also want to continue to encourage you to visit calvarycentralchildren.org for age-appropriate materials. We've heard from many of you that have smaller children that you're going to be watching from home just because of their age. But keep going to calvarycentralchildren.org, and they'll be updating curriculum and fun videos and things to keep the kids plugged in and connected. The chairs, Pastor John mentioned it behind him. If you're joining us a little bit late, it's kind of a picture of how the sanctuary is set up right now. We have chairs grouped into groups of 5, and they're spaced 6 feet apart. And that's, again, to honor the social distancing guidelines that the governor and the federal government have set forth. Any high contact surface, including the bathrooms, doorknobs, chairs, they're going to be sanitized before and after the service. And also in between services, the bathrooms are going to be sanitized as well. Tim made a good point. The bookstore won't be open for now either. And I'm sorry for all you coffee drinkers, hospitality is going to be on hold as well. So drink your coffee before you come to church. But again, it's going to be a slow roll as we get things ramped up. We just want to do things safely and responsibly.
Yeah. And we will try, like Pastor Dan says, obey the guidelines that have been set forth. And that is, as he said, the chairs. We want to make sure that if you want to wear a mask, please feel free to wear a mask. I'm going to wear a mask during the social time before the teaching, and I'll put it back on after the teaching, but of course I won't wear it during the teaching. I don't know if Pastor Dan's decided exactly what he's going to do yet.
Yeah, I'll be doing the same.
So that's what we're comfortable with. Pam told us that, in fact, she wrote to me today, and Pam Gosnell said that she has quite a few of the cloth masks. I think, if I remember right, she said somewhere maybe around 40 of those, and she's just going to make those available at the church, first come, first serve, if people come in and don't have a mask, and they want to wear a mask. Gloves, if you feel comfortable wearing the gloves, that's fine too. We're all just kind of getting back into this in a comfortable zone, and we want to make sure that you guys feel welcome. And please don't feel strange or different than anybody else. They're just making their choices the way they feel is right for them.
Yeah. We're gonna forego passing the tithe bags around, obviously. But the tithe boxes, of course, will be available at the back of the sanctuary, and we still have our online tools too, if you choose to give that way. The meet and greet time after the worship, we're going to put that on hold as well. But obviously, we encourage air hugs and air high fives and things like that. Again, the thing you want to keep in the back of your mind is just that safe 6 feet distance before and after the service. Again, we want to encourage you, if you want to stay in fellowship, that's fine. But for the time being, we really need to maintain that 6 foot distance. Paper bulletins are not going to be provided, but we've gone electronic long ago. So if you haven't signed up for the e-bulletin, you can do that at calvarycentral.org. And we're not going to be doing any health screenings. We've been asked about that. We're not going to take temperatures at the door. We just ask, and we believe that with our fellowship, this will be the case. Be responsible. If you're not feeling well, if you have a fever, if you have any symptoms, stay home. That's what the online service is for. That's how we're going to love one another and protect one another. If we're sick, just stay home. That's what the online service is for. If your children are feeling ill, or any of your family members are, it's better to exercise caution in this case. So just want to encourage you to, again, use the online service and join us that way.
And some of us people, we're like, hey, I can plow through this. I can do this. I'm not that bad. But I would like for all of us to consider it's not about us. It's about protecting the other individuals in our fellowship. So again, if you have even a slight doubt that you've got a fever, or that you just feel lousy and you just, you wonder if something's coming, just go ahead and stay home. Watch it online. That would be better for you to be able to rest, and it would be better for the folks. Also, as we said before, we're going to sanitize before the church, the doors, the bathrooms, everything. We're going to sanitize the bathrooms at least once or twice during the service, and then we're going to sanitize everything after the service. So we're going to do our best to try to keep things as clean as we possibly can. Wash your hands often. When you make the travel to church, if you're not wearing gloves, go wash your hands. Now, keep in mind, even if you're wearing gloves, if you touch something that's got something on it, and then you scratch your eyes or your face, or then those gloves are no good after that anyway. So if you want to stay even more safe or safer, bring a couple pair, one that you use coming in and one that you use going out. But we're going to try to provide as much hand sanitizer as we possibly can. Many of you know that it's in short demand, but that'll be available for folks also.
Yeah. And again, just want to remind you, if you've just joined us, if you have any questions about us reopening, again, we're reopening this coming Sunday at 9:30 a.m. We're going to start doing Sunday and Wednesday services again, with the social distancing guidelines in place, as well as all the recommended guidelines from the state and really the federal guidelines as well. So again, if you have questions, please ask in the comments, or if you think of one afterwards, reach out to us as well. We just want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the best decision for you and your family. But we're really, really excited to see you again, and we really believe we can do this in a way that's safe and responsible. Erlinda asked if anyone in the congregation has been tested for COVID-19. Not that I know of, or Pastor John, have you heard of anybody?
I have not heard if anyone's been tested. I have also not heard if anyone has ever had it yet. And praise God, maybe none of us will. But as far as testing goes, there's no way we could know unless someone volunteered that information. And it may be such that some people, their work might even require that of them. So they may have been tested, but I don't think Pastor Dan or I, either one, has had anyone confirm that to us or tell us that they have done the testing.
Oh yeah, Naeem was tested.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Naeem was not
negative. It was negative.
Yeah, it was negative. He wanted to just make sure he didn't have it and wanted to make sure he was okay, so he went down and volunteered, and they tested him and said, "No, you don't have it. You're good."
Yeah. Thanks, Naeem.
Yeah.
So,
he did give us that information.
Or Linda, you actually brought up a good point too. If you think you've been exposed to somebody, that you put yourself at risk or unknowingly, that's also a good indicator that you should probably stay home until either you've been tested or you've seen how those symptoms play out. So if you've been exposed, obviously, again, these are kind of common sense type things, but again, we want to protect everyone in the fellowship as we slowly get things again.
And if you're a coffee drinker, like Pastor Dan said, there will be no hospitality table, and we really don't want the coffee in the sanctuary. It just stains. As we were moving chairs, we saw a lot of stains on the carpet. So please honor that and drink your coffee before you get there. And you can even buy two, and so you have one on the way out. I'm sure it'll still be warm in the car. So, you can drink it as you come in, and then you can have another one as you go out. But we will not be providing that. And we do ask that folks honor not bringing them in. It's kind of amazing to me. Sometimes you still have people trying to sneak them in. And I would like to ask that we just honor, as Christians should, that we just honor that and not bring those in.
One other thing we've been asked about: men's and women's Bible studies are off for the summer. So we're going to continue our teaching through the book of Numbers on Wednesday nights, and then of course continuing our study in the Gospel of Jesus on Sunday mornings. So that'll give you an idea of where we're heading.
Amen. Anybody else have any other questions regarding this? For those watching from home, let's put this up from Van. For those watching from home, can you pan the congregation so we can see our fellowship? It depends on who's running the cameras. It always depends on manpower when it comes right down to it. Our cameras do pan, but I'm not so sure how much panning they can get out of those to where they could see the congregation. I do think we have one that could be panned towards the congregation. So maybe we will try that tomorrow, Ben, when we go into work. And
I think the challenge with that is now that we're going to be using StreamYard, we're going to be using a permanently mounted device.
That's right.
And that device doesn't have a pan feature. So
that's right.
So that we can continue to use this platform. Unfortunately, for the time being, we can't. But maybe we'll take some photos, Van, and send them to you.
I wish we could, buddy. If we had a multiple camera setting, that would be it is a great idea. And maybe down the line, that's something that we can do. But right now, we're just not going to have the potential to be able to do that. Yeah. April, we're going to continue to do the broadcast as we're doing right now. And we'll be doing those on Wednesdays and Sundays. So those who are watching in the live stream, they will miss nothing. It will just continue on. The whole setting, though, will be from church. So that'll be a little bit different. But we don't want to lose anybody on either side. We don't want to lose anybody who wants to come to church, and we don't want to lose anyone who is not able to come to church because of children and because of whatever the circumstances are. Pastor Dan, anything else?
No,
Man, I wish I didn't have this cough going on. I'm fine until...
Yeah, you were fine before we came on.
Yeah, that seems to...
Everyone on their toes.
Maybe it's because I just need to talk a lot less.
Well, I think, again, if you have questions that come to mind after this is over, we just wanted to spend the evening just going over what church would look like. It's going to be a little bit different for everybody, and we just ask that you bear with us as we make some of these changes for the time being, and we'll move slowly and cautiously. But again, it seems that now's the time to gather together again. And again, no one is less spiritual for not joining us. If you want to join online, we want to again reiterate then that's a good solid decision for you and your family. Don't give that a second thought. But if you do want to come and be with us, our doors are open. We just ask that you do it responsibly with us.
A thing I was thinking about too, and that is that it is going to be, I've even had a few people say, well, how many do you think are going to show up? We really have no idea. I'm guessing that it is going to be a slow roll up, as Pastor Dan said. I believe that a portion of our congregation is taking it, those that may be more at risk, those that have a weakened immune system, or even concerned about safety things regarding their children and grandchildren. We get that. And that's why we want to make sure we're streaming this as well as doing the service. And as Pastor Dan said, we trust that you're hearing from the Lord either way, whether you come or whether you stay home. But I anticipate it being a slow roll-up. I think there are going to be those who are dying to come back to church, and they're going to come back to church. But I think some of our folks are not going to be comfortable with that. We can see, I think, what was it, Pastor Dan, 150 in the way it's arranged, right?
Right.
We can seat 150 people. If we get that, I'll be blown away in the first service or two. But we also are anticipating the possibility of cooling down and using the youth room as an overflow. If we fill up all of those chairs, then we're going to try to make sure that we have it available to stream the service over in the youth room so that people will still be able to see the service, but they just won't be able to necessarily be in the service because of not being able to keep safe distancing. But I think that there's also quite a few folks who are really wanting to get back and have some fellowship. So,
Jared's asking, how long do you estimate until service is back to normal? That's to be honest, we don't know.
Yeah.
We're just taking one step at a time right now. I think we would all prefer it to be sooner than later, but we're going to move, again, as we've said so many times, we're going to move cautiously and responsibly, and really seek the Lord in every step of the way.
Yeah. And Jared, I think one thing that makes it difficult too, to be able to place a time on that is we're still getting so much conflicting information. Every time you hear a new news broadcast, there's something new and there's something different going on. And sometimes you'll hear two news broadcasts and they completely are different from each other. And so if everybody was saying, hey, this thing's going to be done in 2 or 3 weeks, the curve's flattened, then I think a lot of people would have more peace. But you also have a lot of folks who are saying, it could last this long or it could last that long. So it's hard to be able to put a handle on it. And I would be, I think, the first to say that if we ever felt that we were told by the Lord to just go back to the streaming, that's what we would do, because we want people to be safe. But we do feel like it is the Lord telling us to have fellowship. We hope that it gets back to normal as soon as possible, because I miss the hugs. I miss being able to say hi to people and shake their hands and have that kind of fellowship we used to have.
Yes, Sonia, good question. She asks how long do we did mention that the service would be shorter. So she's asking how long the service is going to be?
It depends on who's teaching. Well, we do know that we've cut a few things down, like we're not going to have the stand and everybody greeting. We also have cut the worship down to 3, maybe 4 songs at the beginning, 1 at the end. So each one of those things cuts a little time out of the service. But the teachings will be pretty much what they've always been, and that's somewhere around 45 to 50 minutes long, somewhere around there. So I would guess, Pastor Dan, I'm not sure, but maybe an hour and
Yeah, I think an hour, a little over an hour.
yeah.
It's been my personal goal to say more in less time. So we'll see how that goes. But
It's like, yeah.
And the reality is we know there's going to be kids in the service, and that's okay. And we know that there's going to be some noise, and there's going to be some laughing, there's going to be some crying, there's going to be some screaming, there's going to be some yelling. But we're sensitive to that. That's why we just ask, you know your kids, you know what they're capable of, and you know whether or not they can have an activity that'll hold them over during that amount of time. So again, we're going to leave that at the parents' discretion, but we also are going to show a lot of grace too, knowing that again, this is unique. This is something different. So, and honestly, every step of the way, God has taken what has been challenging and made it something special. So I think it'll be a neat time of having families together in the service when we don't normally do things that way. So, yeah. So I think we're probably safe to say around a little over an hour.
So we're going to shoot for an hour, but allow 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Any other questions you folks might have? We just want to leave it open in case you guys have questions. We don't want to shut any of that off. And the whole purpose of this tonight's session was to be able to give some assurances, to be able to talk about what's going on. Annette, you ask, how many groups of 5 chairs are available? Well, we have, they're in groups of 5, and we have 150 chairs in there. So they're groups of 5, and there's 4 rows across. And I don't know how many back.
Yeah, so there's 30 total groups of 5 chairs. So and if needed, we can break those apart. If a couple comes and we need to separate 2, and then distance 6 feet from that, the ushers are going to be available to help with seating, and they'll be wearing masks also. So just to make everyone feel comfortable. Yeah. But yeah, we can. We're not locked into those 5 seats. That just seemed like the most reasonable number as families come in.
Yeah, like Pastor Dan says, we can always, if you have a couple come in, you may have another family that only has 3. We can separate the 2 from the 3 and move them further apart, or move them forward. We have room at the front of the sanctuary to be able to move, and some at the back of the sanctuary. So, we're going to do our best to try to accommodate the couples who want to just sit by themselves and keep the social distancing. We did it in 5s because we thought, well, we also want to be able to accommodate a larger family. So we wanted to make sure that Pastor Dan's whole family could sit in one place if they really wanted to. So, or any other family of 4 or 5, or that. We'll do everything we can to make folks feel comfortable. And if we have to make those changes right in the middle of the service, we'll make those changes. Any other questions, folks?
And for those of you who are watching on TV and maybe you're not able to ask a question, but there's something on your mind, again, shoot us an email, office@calvarycentral.org, and we'll get back to you very, very quickly. So if there's anything on your mind, any concerns or ideas or just questions, we're open to them. So send us over an email or call the church office, 602.
I will be back in the office tomorrow and Friday, because we want to test some things and do some dry runs and make sure that everything's working as planned. So we'll be in the office tomorrow too if you need us.
Yeah. Well, great.
Okay.
Yeah, if there isn't any more questions, we just love you guys. And we look forward to seeing you, whether it's online or in person. But
We've
thank
stated
you.
this a couple times, but I think I'll state it one more time, and that's, guys, we want you to know that we love you, and it's not more spiritual to show up at church than it is to watch from home. Okay? Neither one makes us more spiritual or less spiritual. You got to do what you feel the Lord is calling you to do. And all we are trying to do is provide a venue uh, to where you feel comfortable in hearing the teaching and being a part of the fellowship. That's all we're trying to do, and doing our best to try to fulfill the commandment or the guideline for us to fellowship together and to not forsake that. So that's our plan and that's our goal. Simple as that. Yesenia, we will see you Sunday. You're going to show up. Folks, we hope you can make it one way or the other.
All right. We'll sign off and see, like Pastor John said, see you one way or the other.
Yeah.
Love you guys.